A pleasant good morning from Monrovia and welcome to King's News Broom, 45 minutes of accurate, balanced, incredible news about Liberia and the rest of our one world. Today is Wednesday, June 4th, 2025. My name is Cornelius Johnson, presenting this early morning edition of the program. Stories topping the headlines following Liberia elections on the United Nations Security Council. President Joseph Boakai extends warm gratitude to the nations that supported Liberia's candidacy and pay homage to the United Nations peacekeepers, including African Union mediators whose efforts helped stabilize the countries in the aftermath of its civil wars. As Liberia marks its historic return to the global stage with its election to a non-permanent seat on the first time in 64 years. Supporters of the Congress for Democratic Change took on the social media platform to appreciate former President George Weah for his role in laying the democratic or diplomatic foundation that made the achievement possible. The Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia expresses concern following the release of a compliance audit by the General Auditing Commission, which uncovered severe irregularities in the Ministries of State's supplementary payroll system covering the period from July 1, 2018 till March 31, 2024, urges President Joseph Boakai to take immediate action on the GSC's audit recommendations and ensure that those implicated, whether past or present, are held accountable. And away from home, 5 members of a United Nations convoy carrying aid to the war-torn Sudan city of Al-Fashir have been killed in an attack. That's according to the United Nations agencies. We take a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you the news bulletin right here on the program. Up next is the bulletin of news with Otis Sanka.
Liberia has been elected to a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council, marking a historic diplomatic milestone for the West African nation. In a nationwide address, President Joseph Boakai described the achievement as both a national triumph and a symbol of Africa's growing influence on the global stage. The country's victory comes after a sustained campaign backed by the African Union and key regional partners, allowing Liberia to join the 15-member Security Council as a non-permanent member for a 2-year term starting in January 2026. In his address, President Boakai reflected on Liberia's unrestrained past and praised the country's resilience in overcoming conflicts and division. The Liberian leader extended heartfelt gratitude to the nations that supported Liberia's candidacy and paid homage to United Nations peacekeepers and African Union mediators whose efforts helped stabilize the country in the aftermath of its civil war. He pledged that Liberia could use its seat on the Security Council to advocate for key global issues affecting the continent and beyond. The Liberian leader further added that Liberia will be the advocate's voice for Africa and the global stage, noting it will address conflict prevention and protection of civilians, especially women and children, and stronger support for peacekeeping and peacebuilding operations. As Liberia marked a historic return to the global stage with its election to a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council for the first time in 64 years, supporters of the Congress for Democratic Change took on their social platform to appreciate former President George Weah for his role in laying the diplomatic foundation that helped make the achievement possible. Across social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, CDC supporters are celebrating the moment as a reflection of long-term foreign policy and efforts initiated under the Weah administration. According to them, President Weah may no longer be in office, but his impact continues to shape Liberia's international standing. The CDC loyalists argued that the Weah administration active engagement with global partners and institutions significantly boosted Liberia's diplomatic profile, paving the way for its successful candidacy for the Security Council seat. Between 2018 and 2024, President Weah prioritized multilateral cooperation, peace building, and international outreach. His government participated in key global forums, including the UN General Assembly and the African Union Summit, while also working to re-establish and strengthen ties with regional allies and international development partners. Despite current President Joseph Boakai has received wide acclaim for steering Liberia through the final phase of its Security Council bid, many CDC supporters insist that national achievement of this magnitude must transcend political divides. Meanwhile, digital platform continues to boost with commentaries, support, and debate. Pro-WEA influencers and CDC affiliated pages are trending on a hashtag such as WEA Legacy, UN Security Council Liberia, and Diplomatic Matter. Liberia has secured a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council for 2 years term, marking a historic moment in the nation's international diplomacy cycle. This achievement positioned Liberia at the forefront of global peace and security deliberation for the past or for the first time in over 64 years. The announcement has been met with the widespread national pride and political unity as leaders from across the spectrum praised diplomatic milestone. Among them is Alternative National Congress political leader Alexander Cummings, who commended the combined efforts of both the current and former administration in bringing the bill to fruition. Cummings lauded President Joseph Boakai administration for finalizing the campaign, acknowledged former President George Weah leadership for initiating the process. He also extended gratitude to Foreign Minister Sarah Besloyanti and her diplomatic team for their strategic and tireless effort on the international stage. He added that Liberia has served on the Security Council in 1968, 1969. With this return, the country will represent the African group contributing to key decisions resolution, sanctions, and other global security matters. The benefit of Liberia rule on the council. The Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia expressed concern following the release of a compliance audit by the General Auditing Commission, which uncovered severe irregularities in the Ministry of State supplementary payroll system covering the period from July 1, 2018 to March 31, 2024. Addressing a press conference Tuesday in Singa, Centara Executive Director Anasi Miamen stated that among key findings include over US 3.5 million unauthorized supplementary payroll spending, payment totaling US 7.9 million, and LD 900,600 that 964,766.21 cents disbursed without proper documentation, including the severance payment made to over 647 layoff employees without authorization. Miami noted that while much of this period falls under the administration of former President George Weah, the current officials of government under the Unity Party are not blameless. The Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia Executive Director stressed that the report revealed that within 2 months of assuming office, the current administration hired supplementary staff outside of formal recruitment processes and paid them over US 36,000 monthly using funds from the consultancy budget or without proper documentation or verification. Call on the Liberian Anti-Corruption Commission to expedite investigations into the allegation, adding that the LACC confirmed that a probe into payroll peddling begins on October 14, 2024, but nearly 8 months later, no conclusion has been reached. Miami highlighted an ongoing LACC investigation into bribery allegations within the House of Representatives. The allegation, according to Miami, are linked to the dramatic resignation of former House Speaker, Councillor Jeniton Funati Kofa, in the late 2024. In a related development, the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia Executive Director Anansi Miami lauded the government of Liberia for its recent accession to the Futurist Transparency Initiative, calling the move a positive step toward open governance. However, in the same breath, the Center Executive Director raised red flags about what he termed as persistent, and worsening corruption in public institutions, especially the Ministry of State, and is urging the Liberian Anti-Corruption Commission to act decisively. Speaking with reporters Tuesday, Center Executive Director Miami described Liberia FITAT membership, formalized on May 21, 2025, as a step in the right direction. The international initiative is designed to promote transparency and sustainable practices in the marine fisheries sector through a global recognized set of standards. He further praised the FAR digital present and online lesson application system, in which, according to him, cited as an example of good governance. This entire board used the occasion to appeal to President Joseph Boakai, urging him to take immediate action on the GAC audit recommendation and ensure that those implicated, whether past or present, are held accountable. Former presidential candidate in the 2023 general election, a human rights lawyer, Councillor Tiawan Gonglo, has publicly defended Edwin Melvin Snow, Senator, Broom County, following his controversial comments expressing a desire for the United Party-led government to fail. Councillor Gonglo, through his social media platform, criticized the Ministry of Information response to Snow, describing it as an infringement on free speech. He pledged to represent Snow if any legal action is taken against him. The former the Boakai administration intolerance of dissent, emphasizing that free speech is crucial for effective governance and democratic development. He argued that differing opinion should be seen as opportunity for improvement rather than as threat. Councillor Gonglo also praised former President George Weah for the enactment of the Kamara Adila Kamara Act of 2018, which decriminalized certain offenses related to speech. The human rights lawyer highlighted the significance of his act in protecting citizens from harassment based on their political beliefs and in reinforcing Liberia's democratic standard. In a quest for a better education the citizens of Yakbatan over the weekend launched a fundraising campaign for Yakbatan Public School into the statutory district. The Long Domak Yakbatan Public School, located in the Marine Clan to the statutory district, has not been operational since 20 to formal education. The initiative, spearheaded by the district education officer, Prince Forded, school's principal, Dekika Flobo, and Pee Wee Sando, is in asking community leaders, including parents, together in raising funds for the reopening of the Yagbeh Town Public School. Speaking at the fundraising program, Prince Fode, district education officer, said the 6-year closure has had devastating consequences on school kids within the Yagbeh town. He added that children in Yagbeh town have been left behind in Liberia education development with long-term closure of the Yagbeh town public school. The district education officer emphasized the urgency of the fundraising process, calls on parents to mobilize community leaders, including parents, together in raising funds for the reopening of the Yakba Town Public School. For his part, education for his part, Dika Flomo, principal of the Yakba Town Public School, praised the community dwellers' unwavering commitment to the fundraising exercise. He told reporters that the school administrators are working tirelessly with parents and local leaders toward the process, stressing their dedication shows how deeply the school is needed within the community. Also, in remark, former representative candidate Pee Wee Sando vowed to support the fundraising for the reopening of the Yakbatown Public School. He noted that the reopening of the school is an investment into lives of young people in the future of the country. The women of the West Point market will support from other marketers on Tuesday submitted a formal petition to the House of Representatives through its Speaker Richard Cohn, demanding urgent legislative intervention over what they describe as the unlawful withholding of market authority by Mosharada County District Number 7 Representative Imadu Adan. In the petition, the women accused Representative Dan of refusing to hand over the keys and official control of the Western market to the Liberian Marketing Association, despite a court ruling affirming the LMA's authority. The marketer insists that the current leadership of the LMA was democratically elected through a transparent process, and as such, Representative Dan should allow LMA leadership to take full control of the market. The marketer noted that Representative Dine continued refusal to comply with the court decision undermines the rule of law and violates basic administrative procedures. The marketer expressed deep concern about an ongoing uncertainty has disrupted operation, fostered confusion, and put at risk the livelihood of hundreds of marketers, that's market women, many of whom are single mothers and sole breadwinners for their families. While the marketers reaffirmed their commitment to peaceful advocacy, they also warned that they are prepared to mobilize through nonviolent collective action if no resolution is reached soon. The women are calling on the 55th legislature to enforce the court decision, ensure respect for market governance structures, and restore lawful authorities to the LMA. The news bulletin.
Otis Sankan with the news bulletin. If you just joining us, is a reminder you are in tune to King's Newsroom for the 5 minutes of high-grade balance, incredible news about Liberia and the rest of our one word. Today is Wednesday, June 4, 2025. Story top in the headlines. Following Liberia election on the United Nations Security Council, President Joseph Boakai extends one gratitude to the nations that supported Liberia's candidacy and pay homage to the United Nations peacekeepers, including African Union mediators whose efforts helped stabilize the countries in the aftermath of its civil wars. We take another break. When we come back, we'll bring you the voices of the newsmakers. Many thanks for being there and welcome back. Today's development on the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia has expressed concerns following the release of a compliance audit by the General Auditing Commission, which uncovered severe irregularities in the Ministry of State's supplementary payroll system covering the period from July 1, 2018 to March 31, 2024. During a press conference Tuesday in Senko, Sentao, Executive Director Anasi Miame stated that among key findings include over 3.5 million unauthorized supplementary payroll spending payments totaling 7.9 million United States dollars and 964,000 Liberian dollars dispersed without proper documentation, including the severance payments made to over 647 ladies
recently released by the General Auditing Commission of the Ministry of State for the period covering July 1, 2018 to March 31, 2024. The report underscores systemic issues in public financial management. The Ministry of State, to review unauthorized supplementary payroll spending in the tune of over $3.5 million dollars, payment of over $7.9 million dollars, and Liberian dollars $964,766 without supporting documentation, and unauthorized severance payments to 647 laid off employees. We note that the audit covers to a large extent the administration of former President George Weah and the previous ministers such as Nathaniel McGill, our Senator Magibi County, and Wilson Bramble. Nonetheless, issues raised by the audit linked to the current administration regarding previous administration. The report indicates that the ministry under the current administration hired supplementary staff within 2 months of taking office without proper recruitment processes and paid the hires over US dollars to the 6,000 monthly for consultancy borderline without verification or documentation. The report also noted failure of the current administration to provide records or facilitate verification of these employees, raising concerns about transparency and accountability. Center sees this finding as disturbing, especially considering that the Ministry of State dismissed 2 senior officials in 2024 that made reports of payroll practice. We wonder whether the ministry dismissed these officials for acts done prior to the Baga administration or for those done during the Baga administration or both. We believe that the answer to this dilemma will shed light on whether the Ministry of State is truly committed to fighting corruption and not saving face by targeting those who served the previous administration.
In a related development, the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia Executive Director Anasi Miame lauded the government of Liberia for its recent accession to the Futurist Transparency Initiative, calling the move a positive step forward to open governance. However, in the same breath, the Center Executive Director raised red flags about what he termed as persistent worsening corruption in public institutions, especially the Ministry of State, and is urging the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission to act decisively.
Ladies and gentlemen of the press, we have read with great excitement that Liberia has joined the Fisheries Transparency Initiative on May 21, 2025, a global multi-stakeholder partnership aimed at enhancing transparency and participation in sustainable management of marine fisheries through the implementation of the Fiji Standard. The Fiji Standard is a global recognized framework that outlines specific transparency requirements for countries in the governance and management of marine fisheries. We applaud this effort by the government of Liberia through the National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority, NAFA, to promote the culture of transparency, especially within the fisheries sector. Liberia's membership for the initiative is a step in the right direction in promoting an equitable, inclusive, and transparent fisheries sector. Gone should be those days when policies, frameworks, agreements, processes, and reports with implications on the people in the state are shrouded in secrecy. Now is the time to nurture and value a culture of transparency across different government institutions and their services. We commend NAPA for maintaining an active website and a portal for online application for licenses. Nonetheless, we look forward to publication of more information regarding fisheries agreements, revenues, and expenditure reports, and other key information on the sector. In conclusion, we call on President Joseph Nwaka to do the needful while acting swiftly on recommendations containing the order if systemic issues must be addressed. We also reiterate our call for the LSC to speedily invest those associated with findings contained in the audit report, as well as those connected to the House primary allegations.
He's the executive director of the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia, Anasi Miame. They're speaking. Liberia has been elected to a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council, marking a historic diplomatic milestone for the West African nation. In a nationwide address, President Joseph Boakai described the achievement as both a national triumph and a symbol of Africa's growing influence on the global stage. The country's victory comes after a sustained campaign backed by the African Union and key regional partners, allowing Liberia to join the 15-member Security Council as a non-permanent member for a 2-year term starting in January 2026. In his address, President Joseph Boakai reflected on Liberia's unrestrained powers and praised the country's resilience in overcoming conflict and division.
Is grateful of a new chapter in our nation's history. The United Nations Security Council has honored us with a non-permanent seat for 2026-2027, recognizing our resilient commitment to peace and dedication to global cooperation. We extend our deepest gratitude to all UN member states for their confidence. This is a moment of honor and humility for our 178-year-old republic, Africa's first independent nation, whose long historic journey. Our election is not just a national achievement, it symbolizes Africa's perseverance and is a tribute to generations of Liberians who have held firm to freedom, self-governance, and global solidarity. From our role in the League of Nations and as the founder member of the United Nations, our contribution to African independence in Liberia has always punched above its weight on the global stage. We honor the memory of the Nazda Angie Brooks Randa, Africa's first female president of the United Nations General Assembly, whose call for substance over symbolism still echoes. And we recall the foresight of President William R. Travis Jr., who won the global peace was impossible without African freedom and justice. Liberia has walked a difficult road from conflict to recovery, but it has never been alone. We remain grateful to the United Nations, ECOWAS, and African Union for their role in our peace process. We especially pay tribute to the 202 United Nations peacekeepers who died in the cause of Liberia. From the ruins of war, Liberia has risen as a democracy, holding successful and peaceful elections and achieving historic power transfer. Today's election confirms Liberia is again a credible and relevant voice in the world stage. Like our first president in 1961, today's election is a testament to our nation's journey toward peace and reconciliation. We have overcome conflict and have pledged to contribute meaningfully to global peace building and conflict resolution. It validates Liberia's commitment to international peace and our readiness to contribute meaningfully at the highest level.
Former presidential candidate in the 2023 general elections and human rights lawyer Councillor Tiawan Gonglu has publicly defended Senator Edwin Snow following his controversial comments expressing a desire for the United Party-led government to fail. Councillor Gonglu, through his social media platform, criticized the Ministry of Information's response to Snow, describing it as an infringement on free speech. He pledged to represent Snow if any legal action is taken against him. The former presidential candidate condemned the Boakai administration's intolerance of dissent, emphasizing that free speech is crucial for effective governance and democratic development. Here now is Tiawan Gonglu.
My fellow Liberians, I'm here to speak to you this evening about a very important subject matter: the intolerance of some government officials of opposing views of other Liberian government officials and even ordinary people. Last week, I read in the paper different views and even heard on the radio and read online very important government officials reacting to Senator Edwin Snow. What I heard is that they were reacting to a statement that they wish that the government would fail, and they were reacting in different ways. I was surprised at the reaction, because normally, even in families, some people can say, this child will be nothing, this one will be nothing, this one will be nothing. I was told at some point that I would be nothing, but I became minister, I became solicitor general, and I used to tell some of those family members, yes, I was young, I was hired, I was working about and all that, but here I am today. This man is involved in student activism. He will not even finish University of Liberia. He will go nowhere. That is what it felt. But that statement, rather than me arguing with them, stimulated me. Why can the government say, if you say we'll fail, You are a liar. That should stimulate officials of government to succeed, to work so hard, like Abraham Traore, for the people of Liberia to feel their work, not to express anger. It shows intolerance. Opposing views are important in a democracy because it helps you to see the other side and to succeed. I don't think that people should be so angry when people express views against them. They should rather come and put people wrong not about what they say, but what they do in the interest of the Liberian people, like Ibrahim Traore, like other leaders in Africa. Look, during the election, my younger sister, whom I love so much, supported me in the first round. In the second round, she told me, brother, you have expressed support for Bwaka and called upon your party. I'm not LPP. I'm going to support George Weah. I had no problem with that. But then I read in the papers and posted there's a problem in the Gongo family because while Gongo is supporting Bwaka, his sister is supporting Weah. I was not troubled by that. I was not opposed to that. And me and my sister remain close, and we are close today, very close today. I came in the newspaper and said, that is not true. There's no problem in the Gongo family. No expression of political views or people wishes about government should not be a source of anger.
In a quest for better education, the citizens of Yaba Town over the weekend launched a fundraising campaign for the Yaba Town Public School in Todi Statutory District. The Lone Doman Yaba Town Public School, located in the Marine Clown Todi Statutory District, has not been operational since 2018, depriving children access to formal education. The initiative, spearheaded by the District Education Officer Prince Fodit, School Principal Delpa Flomo, and Pee Wee Sano, is aimed at mobilizing community leaders, including parents, together in raising funds for the reopening of the Yaba Town Public School. Speaking at the fundraising program, Prince Fode, District Education Officer, said the 6-year closure has had devastating consequences on school kids within the Yaba Town.
To the lack of so many things. Some of our schools have been broken down. For now, today we are in Yipasa, but the Kamara Public School have been broken down for the past 6 years. And here we are raising a fund to see how better for the community dweller, to see how we can really elevate the school back to start hopefully by grace of God September for the next school intake. Because as information is circulating around this community, we have additional about 62 more community around this place. From my database, I have close to 4 schools. We have Amostown Public School. We have Kenga have a similar situation, although Kenga is functioning. We have Le Prairie. We have Menvika. All this school, and there's not a Yotan Public School. In consultation with our various principals, we have meeting with them on a continuous basis. We are going to read all our public school, the private school, the faith-based school, to bring in our information, because right after this, the next school intake, by our course with our training, and the training we got to do with the school management and other things. After that, then transfer some teachers that have been giving the various principals some tough time. Brought some material that we use to start out with, get to do a textbook, get to do a chalk, duster, you just name it, some of the material for the class, right? To see how they can start from there. But now, instead, what we have done is we are communicating with all the local chiefs around this wedding place. We are communicating with them to see how they can come in to help. We have meeting with them, have them informed that, oh, chief, everything government cannot do it for all. So we have the meeting was fruitful. Some of them pledges, gasoline, some of them promise to bring power saw to see how they can start the process. And right there, as it is today now, we are doing a late fundraising to get funding to complete the process. To the challenge, we are calling on our stakeholders, we are calling on the community dwellers to see how they can work along with the sources of our district.
For his part, Dr. Flomo, principal of the Yaba Town Public School, praised the community dwellers' unwavering commitment to the fundraising exercise. He told reporters that the school administrators are working tirelessly with parents and local leaders towards the process, stressing that their dedication shows how deeply the school is needed within the community.
Our parents are all here doing their own contribution. Our invitees, most of them, they pledges. Most of them told us that after this program, because one of our major challenge we have here is the road. We don't have good road network. So to see most of these guys, our government officials living from Morovia to come here, they will say our road is bad. But after the program, we should meet them.
So basically, what's the driving distance, the level of kilometer from here in Morovia?
From here, Kakata on motorbike is about an hour. Our parents have come up with a strategies that they will come up with an MOU that you parent that will fail to send your child to this school, this Billy Kamara public school. These parents will be found, they will find the parent money and you got consequence of it. So the parents are really encouraged that all their children, they will make sure that all their children will go to school. They will send their children to school. We are appealing to the government, Ministry of Education, to help us to come and renovate our school. Our school need a lot of material. Even if we don't have a chairs, armchairs for our children to sit on. So even we are talking about reopening, but what will our children sit to learn? We don't have textbooks, we don't have anything. So we are appealing to central government and humanitarians. You, whosoever that will be listening to us today, we are asking you to come and help us. This is our appeal. Please come and help us. We need your help. Our children need education. This is Maserado, the rural part of Maserado.
Also, in remarks, former Representative Kennedy Pee Wee Sanu vowed to support the fundraising for the reopening of the Yapatown Public School. He noted that the reopening of the school is an investment into the lives of young people and the future of the country.
There are two things that develop a country. You see, number one, that love. When we love each other, we'll be able to help each other. The second thing is education. If we get about 50 young people from the Jerry clan that are educated, you see the people will be developed. So these two things we should always take it serious. So having said that, I will open a rally with 2,000 librarian dollars. By next week, I will also get $10,000. We the parents are here. Let us open our arm to those that will be here to teach. The problem came from we are citizens in the area. We're not helping the people that were teaching here. And we're preparing the future for our children. I've been part of the district where you see sometimes the teacher living with the people in the community. They're very mean to the teachers. To teach is not easy. Myself, I spent some time in the classroom. I know what it means to go to school with empty stomach. So let us learn how to stretch here to those that will be here. Because maybe we might not have teachers coming right now from the government to come here. But even if our own brother and sister, we should be able to help. To put them on government pay, not just easy thing. Anyone that one room you get, or two room, get them one room, let it be there to help. Until we can teach about building teachers quite well here.
His former Representative Kennedy Pee Wee Sanu. Earlier, you listened to the school principal of the Yapatown Public School, Dr. Flomo, and District Education Officer Prince Fode. They're speaking at a fundraising rally for the Yapatown Public School into the statutory district. Away from Humnam, 5 members of the United Nations convoy carrying aid to war-torn Sudan city of El Fasher have been killed in an attack. That's according to United Nations agencies. Several people who were injured and multiple trucks burned on Monday's night assault, which took place near El Koman in the state of North Darfur. They added, the two sides in Sudan's grueling civil war, the paramilitary rapid support forces, RSF, and the regular army have accused each other of striking the United Nations convoy with drones. The UN did not say how the attack happened, but called for urgent investigation for the perpetrators to be held to account. The convoy was made up of 15 trucks from the United Nations Food and Children Agencies, who said it was devastating that the aid did not reach famine striking El Fasher. El Fasher is the last major location in North Darfur on army control. Civilians and military personnel there have been under attack by the RSF for over a year. The convoy was attempting to reach children and families in the city with life-saving food and nutrition supplies when it was attacked, said the joint statement from the World Food Program and the United Nations Children Agency, UNICEF. Following the attack, the El Koman emergency room and a group of local volunteer responders posted a video of a burned out truck loaded with sack of supplies on Facebook. This army, the RSF, has previously been targeted of frequent attacks in the conflict between paramilitary groups and the army. Well, that's all the time we have for this early morning edition of King's News Broom. But just before we go, here are stories we closely follow. Following Liberia's election on the United Nations Security Council, President Joseph Boakai extends warm gratitude to the nations that supported Liberia's candidacy and pay homage to the United Nations peacekeepers, including African Union mediators whose efforts helped stabilize the countries in the aftermath of its civil war. As Liberia marks its historic return to the global stage with its election to a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council for the first time in 64 years, supporters of the Congress for Democratic Change took on their social media platforms to appreciate former President George Weah for his role in laying the diplomatic foundation that made the achievement possible. The Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia expresses concern following the release of a compliance audit by the General Auditing Commission, which uncovers severe irregularities in the Ministry of State supplementary payroll system covering the period from July 1, 2018 to March 31, 2024, urges President Joseph Boakai to take immediate action on the GSC's audit recommendations and ensure that those implicated, whether parties or person, are held accountable. And away from home, 5 members of a United Nations convoy carrying aid to war-torn Sudanese city of El Fasher have been killed in an attack. That's according to UN agencies. Many thanks to all of our contributors, editors, and reporters who help in making this edition of King's News Broom. Our sources join us this afternoon at 1 p.m. for another edition of the program. Otis Sangan was here with the news bulletin. On behalf of the entire team, my name is Cornelius Johnson. I presented. Many thanks for listening and watching. Good morning.